What's your interpretation of a single story?
Oh, I have to say a good example of what I think a good interpretation of a single story is what? I don't know. People think it's all about stereotypes. So a lot of people think one thing, but someone that isn't necessarily true. So I have to go with like an example from like my past is I had scoliosis surgery right after I graduated 8th grade. It's about 4 years ago. And I had really severe scoliosis for about 4 or 5 years. And a lot of people thought that was weird. They all thought my back looked funny, which it did, but it hurt more coming from them than it did from me because it was normal for me. It didn't bother me at all. So they all thought like, you know, she's weak or her back's all messed up. She can't do some of this stuff. She can't do the stuff that we can. It was all stuff that was like, you know, no, her back's all messed up. She can't do this. And so it was really hard for me to like try and prove myself different to them. And I was like, no, I can't actually do this. It's just my back that's messed up. So it was really cool when going from 4th grade to 8th grade that I could show everybody like, hey, I can do this because I became the fastest person on my middle school track team and the best shot put. It's fine. I threw the farthest shot put. I was the best shot putter and I was the fastest sprinter. So it was really cool to show everybody like, hey, I can do this. That's not all I am.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What's your interpretation of a single story?
That it only goes like one way, and like if you say like some, you know, I don't really know what I'm just gonna read it. Okay, so that it only goes one way because it's like if they don't know the other stories, because there's always like a backup, I guess, is like a metaphor. I don't really know, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of get you.
Okay, kind of. But like for me, I was born with cancer, and I was 3, and everyone like they just kept looking at one story like, oh, she's going to lose her hair, she's going to die, all of that great stuff. But I was supposed to die. That's what they say. But I didn't die. I didn't have to go through chemo, and usually that's the story. Like they think once you get cancer, you're supposed to lose your hair because it goes one way, and it's gonna be hard. I mean, I couldn't walk. My eyes were shaky. I couldn't I would run into walls all the time, but I'm still here and I'm fine. So I guess that's a story.
Awesome. What's your interpretation of a single story?
Well, okay, so I agree with what you two said.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think a single story is what starts all this bullying and all this references, because I can also relate on a personal experience because my brother is deaf, and for my whole life people have been coming up to me and saying, hey, and I talk about my brother, you know, like any other person would, like, yeah, he's my brother, we do this together, we fish, we hunt, you know, all things like that. And then I tell them, yeah, my brother's deaf, and they're like, what? I don't know, they just can't fathom that he can do the same things that we can, I guess. And they say, oh, so he can't hear. And I'm like, well, technically he can't, but he has a cochlear implant, so he can hear. And it's just not as good as you and I. And then they say, oh, so he just can't talk. And I'm like, well, he can talk. That's why we moved to Missouri. So he came to a school so he can learn how to talk. And yeah, I think the danger of a single story is how people just make assumptions, and those assumptions can really hurt an individual that you're talking about or that you're assuming about, and not just that individual, everyone who's in that cluster with them, like anybody. Yeah,
You're done.
That's my interpretation of a single story.